that we have a set criteria first to determine who qualifies for affordable housing and how are these houses allocated. And that is precisely what these regulations, Honorable Speaker, are doing. Honorable Speaker, one of the things after President William Ruto commissioned and handed over the keys of Pukuru affordable housing in Embakasi South, and later some other housing units in Kisumu and Homa Bay, and Kenyans got to see that, unlike what they were being told before, that this housing thing is all a lie. Because you remember many of our competitors on the political arena had said that this housing was a lie, it would never happen, is a conduit for theft, and this money would never build any houses, Honorable Speaker. And in fact, many have said in funerals and other political fora, asking, who told these people we want houses? Now, surprisingly, Honorable Speaker, the challenge now is on the demand. And therefore, it's imperative that we have regulations, as have been tabled before the Delegated Legislative Committee, regulations that will ensure that we have a clear criteria on how do we identify the beneficiaries of those houses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you go to part 8 of these regulations, Honorable Speaker, on the miscellaneous provisions, it includes, Honorable Speaker, the categorization of affordable housing, because there is social housing, there is market rate housing, there is social housing, there is institutional housing. Therefore, this part categorizes what is an affordable housing unit, what is the social housing unit, and what is market rate or market value housing. For instance, the Honorable Robert Mbui, as was saying, as a member of parliament, he cannot, under any circumstances, qualify for affordable housing or social housing. But he can qualify for market value, which he will pay much more, or myself, for instance, Honorable Speaker, and many other Kenyans who are able to pay for market rate housing, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, when you apply for a house, you'll be able to classify in your application whether you are applying for social housing, that is at the bottom of the pyramid, or affordable housing or market value housing, Honorable Speaker. The same part also speaks to the establishment of an electronic system for the allocation of affordable housing unit. And it says that this electronic system is what the mover of the motion was alluding to, that there will be no human intervention, Honorable Speaker. When I apply for my market rate house, I do not need to know the principal secretary or the minister. I do not need to know anybody in government. Honorable Speaker, I was shocked the other day, a good friend of mine who is a bishop, asking me, how can you help me to get allocated a unit at the Kikuyu Affordable Housing project? And I simply typed back on my WhatsApp message and told the bishop, good bishop, by simply registering in Bomayangu and following the instructions therein. Honorable Speaker, I've had friends in the diaspora who are asking the same questions. How do we in the diaspora afford or get to access these affordable housing units? Some want to buy for their parents, some want to buy for themselves, some want to buy for their relatives back here. And I've told many of them, you do not need to know anybody. Honorable Speaker, you know, Kenyans, we are accustomed to, you must know somebody to get something. I want to tell Kenyans, you do not need to know anybody. Not the leader of majority, not the deputy leader of minority, Honorable Robert Mbui, not the leader of minority, nobody, not the PS, not the minister, not even the president. All you need to do is to know the procedure of registration through Bomayangu, contribute for your deposit. And Honorable Speaker, these regulations are also provided now for that deposit. Fortunately, that deposit has now been moved from 10% of the value of the house to only 5%. You only need to contribute. If a house is ₦1,000,000 shillings, you only need 50,000 shillings now to be able to make a deposit, Honorable Speaker. And that is something Kenyans need to know. And I want to invite Kenyans from across the board, even those in the diaspora, my good bishop friends and church leaders who are asking how we can help them. We do not need to help you. All you need to do, maybe we can help you through the empowerment programs to raise deposits to the 5%. but you do not need any help from anybody to be able to access these units. The system is foolproof, the system is transparent, a very accountable system, electronic system, that when you apply and you meet the criteria, the regulations here are also telling us that if you do not meet the criteria, there is also, the regulation provide for an appeal mechanism. How can you appeal? Probably it is a deposit that you have not met the threshold of the 5%. You can get back your deposit, you can continue saving and apply for another unit elsewhere. And you do not need necessarily to apply for a unit within your locality. I have been encouraging Kenyans. These houses being built in Nairobi are not for anybody. They are for the people of Kathiani, the people of Kikuyu, the people of Kisumu, the people of Karachuonyo, the people from Lodwar. Honorable Speaker, these regulations have answered a very critical question. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me an extra minute so that I make that point. The question of rural housing. One of the salient issues during the second reading of this, the Affordable Housing Bill, before it became an act of parliament, was to answer those questions for those naysayers and the pessimists who are asking, who said we want houses? Everybody has a house in their rural areas. The Honorable Chepkonga, in moving this motion, has alluded to that fact, that there are those far-flung districts of our country where we have huge tracts of land. And if you go and build, for instance, high-rise housing in our rural areas where people have a lot of land, then they will ask you, how can we, for instance, Honorable Speaker, with immense respect to our pastoral communities, our brothers from Turkana are asking, how do we go and live in multi-dwelling units when we have all this land at our disposal? Honorable Speaker, now these regulations are creating the avenue for rural housing. And rural housing, it's not necessary for government institutions and the agencies involved in affordable housing to come and build a house for you. There is now an avenue for you to access money to go and build a house for yourself in your rural area. Therefore, those in Western Kenya who do not want high-rise buildings, those in northeastern Kenya, those in the northern part of Kenya, or in Masailand who do not want high-rise buildings, apartments, Honorable Speaker, can now access a loan. And the procedure is being provided for in these regulations. How do you access a loan to now go build the house you want? You want a bungalow, 5 bedrooms. All you need is to pay a deposit, access the mortgage, get the money, build the house. And of course, now the criteria on how to qualify, how they will supervise to ensure that that money is not diverted to buying cattle or goats. It goes towards ensuring that even Kenyans in rural areas are able to get housing, Honorable Speaker. These regulations are timely, Honorable Speaker, and therefore support and urge members to support and encourage Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, to access these houses through the platforms that are provided for, the electronic platforms. Start saving through Boma Yangu and build your 5% deposit. As I said, the deposit has come down to 5% from 10% that was provided for earlier, Honorable Speaker. And this is encouraging because even within the banking industry, Honorable Speaker, there is no bank that will give you a house at 5% deposit. But through this affordable housing program, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans will now be able to access housing, become homeowners, and generate wealth for themselves and their families and be able to grow our economy, Honorable Speaker. As we say that this affordable housing program is not just about affording houses to Kenyans. It's about our economy, growing our economy, creating jobs for people, creating opportunities, Honorable Speaker, for industrialization of our country. Today, Honorable Speaker, we have new cement factories in this country. We have new steel manufacturing companies, Honorable Speaker, that are rising every day out of this affordable housing process, Honorable Speaker, including the growth of our TVET and technical skills institutions, Honorable Speaker, that are training young men and women, Honorable Speaker. Last week, the President did announce that we will now embark on another program where graduates from our TVET and technical institutions, Honorable Speaker, will be guaranteed of internship programs in the affordable housing units, whether they're architects, whether they're draftsmen, whether they are artisans, whether they're electricians, or other technicians, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, these programs offers the Kenyan people, and especially our unemployed youth, immense opportunities, and I beg that we all support to make it become a reality across the country. To the naysayers, Honorable Speaker, those who are asking whether people in the rural areas want houses, now they can see we are able to provide good housing with good sanitation to our rural communities, Honorable Speaker, by affording them the opportunity to access loans and
Thank you. The Honorable, I've been seeing this Honorable Harold Kimunge Kipchumba nominated. If he left, then I think you should just remove it from the screen. Okay, the Honorable Irene Mayaka, nominated member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to support the regulations from the delegated committee. Honorable Speaker, looking at these particular regulations, I first want to refer the House back to Article 43 of the Constitution, which is very specific in the sense that it talks about rights to accessible and adequate housing and with reasonable standards of sanitation. Honorable Speaker, this is very specific in terms of what the Constitution provides. But in order for the Constitution to be actualized, it is upon this House to offer regulations that actually actualize this particular regulation. And Honorable Speaker, I've looked at the regulation in terms of the different parts and what it has provided, where Part 2 speaks about eligibility criteria for allocation of an affordable housing unit. And Honorable Speaker, this is in particular is very important because we have had situations where a lot of people do not know where to go and who to talk to in terms of getting access to affordable housing, because also, Honorable Speaker, the uptake has been extremely high in the recent 1 year. And this actually speaks to even the people who are naysayers about the affordable housing. Because, Honorable Speaker, the number of people who've taken up houses, including the ones that groundbreaking is just beginning, has really increased. So this particular provision in the regulation does assist with that. Honorable Speaker, Part 3 speaks about public institutions and provision of institutional housing. Again, this is very important because we have very many colleges, Honorable Speaker, in different parts of the country,